Well, hello and welcome to the program. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Tonight, we turn the spotlight on a country grappling with deepening discontent. From the streets of Abuja to Port Harcourt, the Take It Back protests have reignited conversations around civil liberties, economic hardship, and the widening trust gap between citizens and the government. At the same time, there's growing unease over what many see as lopsided appointments by the Tinubu administration, raising questions about inclusivity, national unity, and political equity. Even more politically charged are murmurs within the ruling APC, particularly from the North Central Zone, where some stakeholders are reportedly pushing for a replacement of Vice President Kashim Shettima ahead of the 2027 elections. Yet another indication of internal party tensions and regional dissatisfaction. All of this is unfolding against the backdrop of rising inflation, insecurity, and a general atmosphere of despair, especially among young Nigerians who feel increasingly cut off from the promise of progress. Joining us tonight to help us break it all down is a retired naval officer, engineer, and APC Stalwart, Commodore Nurudeen Hammanyero, retired, is joining us for this conversation tonight. Engineer Hammanyero, as always, a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. It's good to see you again.
Thank you for having me, Toba.
All right, let's first of all start with a look at what has been the biggest news of the day. The Take It Back protests didn't happen with the much vigor that most people anticipated, but it happened nonetheless. Here's Abdullahi with an update on all of the protests across all the flashpoints.
Protesters under the banner of Take It Back movement and allied civil society groups were forcibly dispersed by police in Abuja and Port Harcourt on Monday. In the Metama district of Abuja, officers of the Nigerian police force fired tear gas to break up a peaceful demonstration calling for economic reforms and justice.
The police are aware that we have a march today. Yes. They said they have their own program today as well. Yes. But we have told them that their program cannot stand in the way of our own march. Yes. Yes. And we have told them that we are going to the National Assembly. Yes. If they like, let them mobilize and join us. Yes. In fact, we have told policemen in Nigeria that it is time for the police and the people to work together. Yes. So that they can improve their own life conditions as well. Yes. And their working conditions. Yes. Nigerian policemen are the worst paid in the world. Yes. But they keep killing the same people who are fighting for them. Yes. We are not going to accept that anymore. Yes. While we are here, Tinubu is busy enjoying himself in France. We are not going to stay back in our country while our sitting president is censoring our rights. Yes.
In Port Harcourt, security operatives also fired tear gas at the protesters gathered at Isaac Borough Park. The demonstrators were demanding the repeal of the Cybercrime Act, the reversal of Governor Sim Fabra's suspension, and the withdrawal of the state of emergency declared by President Bola Tinubu in Rivers State.
Our grievances is number one thing is the repeal of the Cybercrime Act, and as Rivers people, we are here to speak against the unconstitutional removal of our elected governor and the Rivers State House of Assembly. We are here to demand a government for the people of Rivers State, because as it stands now, we are without government. This government in Rivers State is alien to our people. It's unconstitutional. And so we are here to demand that our governor comes back to office and lead us appropriately. We have a social contract with the governor. We don't have any contract with the sole administration. This is democracy. You understand? So we are here to march, and nobody can tell us where to gather. We are Rivers people. We own this place.
The protesters are part of the nationwide campaign addressing growing concern over economic hardship, alleged abuses of the Cybercrime Act, and what organizers describe as increasing political repression.
We are suffering, so we the youth, we are saying we need this to come down.
Buy the rice for 40,000. What are we going to use in the it? Are we going to put it like that?
Everything across Nigeria, so we the youth, we say we can't hear it anyhow.
Human rights group Amnesty International has condemned the police response, describing it as excessive. In a statement on a social media, Amnesty said security agents in Port Harcourt beat protesters and journalists and used tear gas, infringing on fundamental right to freedom of expression and peaceful assembly. Abubakar Abdullahi Galadima, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Scenes from the streets there across Port Harcourt. Lagos was also in the mix, as well as Abuja. Of course, the police were at hand to offer whatever form of pushback to what they say is a security threat to public safety. But of course, this further signposts what many Nigerians have already been talking about, the dissatisfaction that continues to grow largely because of the performance of the administration of the day. Let's bring in our guest and APC Stalwart, Engineer Nurudeen Hammanyero. First of all, I'd just like to get your quick reaction to what has been a busy day in part for the Nigerian police trying to curtail what was yet another protest again, to drive home the point that some Nigerians, especially those who took part in today's protest, are not happy with the way the Tinubu administration is running the affairs of the nation. What do you make of it?
First of all, Talba, I support the idea of protest in Nigeria because it is the right of citizens to protest. And as far as democracy is concerned, I am completely against police stopping legitimate people from protesting how they feel about the government or what they see about governance. That is my point on the issue of police either repelling protesters with tear gas. This is completely inhuman. If you can't coordinate people who are protesting to do it within the ambit of the law, then you should not be seen to be using tear gas on innocent Nigerians simply because they are protesting. It is their right to protest. It is their right to protest. And ordinarily, they are protesting within a state, and every state has its leadership. Whether it is APC, whether it is PDP or any other party, there is a leader in that state, and there are leaders in that state. Whether it is members House of Assembly, whether it is chairman, whether it is councillor, we have leaders across board in that state. And what is expected, because there was a time, this thing, it did not just come up today in the morning. There was a notice long ago, we want to hold our protest. We are not comfortable with the government. This is Sowore and any Nigerian who seek to align with his idea of not enjoying what the government is doing. And if they want to protest, it is their right to do so. But the chairman of that local government, the councillors in that local government, the members House of Assembly in that local government, the governor himself has the right or has the powers within him to make sure that this thing is done within the law. So first of all, police spraying tear gas for protesters is wrong. It should be condemned across board. Nobody should accept it. But protesters also protesting within the law, not escalating it to a stage of burning innocent people's property, shattering businesses and destroying means of livelihood for innocent Nigerians. That is also not acceptable. That means there has to be a conformity. The security apparatus, the protesters and the leadership of the state and the federal government must certainly work together and make sure if somebody wants to protest or a group of people want to protest, they should do so within the ambit of the law. But spraying tear gas is completely wrong. We are in a democratic setting and things like this should be condemned.
Right.
Are they protesting on the right track? This is a different question. But leaving them to protest and doing so without breaking any form of law and order is right in democracy, and it should not be accepted by anybody that they should be sprayed tear gas or beaten or even shot at with rubber bullets. This is completely not democracy, and we should not accept it.
There have been question marks about the democratic atmosphere under the Tinubu administration, as you can hear with some of the takes of the participants in that protest. For instance, they argue that the administration is becoming a lot more authoritarian because they're also talking about the cybercrime act, which they feel the administration or the instrument of government, especially within the security forces, are using to go after dissent, for instance. Do you worry about these label of authoritarian dictatorship, so to say, labeled at a government on the platform of the APC?
I am not, with all honesty. Talbot, a government has enormous duties on their people, on its citizens. And one of those duties is to ensure security and ensure peace and order. And you cannot do so accepting every form of activity, whether it is illegal in the country or legal. If we have over the past years, we have experienced enough, more than to describe cyber activities, illegal cyber activities in Nigeria. And if the government comes up with a law that will enable track perpetrators of this act and bring them to book, I have seen nothing wrong with that. So except if you are a criminal, then you have something to hide. But so long as you are a law-abiding citizen of this country and the government is doing its work, providing a conducive atmosphere for you to do your business, then what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? If you have nothing to hide, the government says it is fighting cyber crimes. Are you a cyber criminal? If you are not...
Some say that's a smokescreen to go after political opponents, people who are critical of the administration, people who have the tendency to influence public opinion against the administration. And that's why these protesters are saying, get rid of it, because it is the one cover some of these security institutions use to go after political dissent.
Bring out the political opponent that is being punished with the cyber crime policy of the government. Bring him forth so that we see and analyze it. What is his business? We should not be afraid in this country for anything. The government are doing their job. If you have anything with the government, or if you feel you are not being treated fairly because you are in the opposition, and you feel the government is bringing about policies just to witch hunt you, then come out and publish your business and allow Nigerians to scrutinize you side by side, the government policy, and see who is right and who is wrong. For me, I see nothing wrong with that. In fact, what I see wrong, Talba, is the manner in which we tend to bring politics in every single dealing in this country. In fact, most of the things people do today in Nigeria that are illegal, the people want to hide it under, the umbrella of politics. Somebody will be doing something that is completely wrong and immoral, but the moment he is called upon to stop, or there is any law catching up with him on what he is doing, he begins to cry foul and say it's because he is an opponent, that is why he's been maltreated this way and that way. So honestly speaking, there is nothing wrong with bringing about laws. In fact, let me tell you the truth. Government should be feared. My own personal policy about government is that citizens should have some level of fear about government. And it is because we don't have that.
Is that the military man in you speaking?
It's not about the military man in me.
I mean, I can understand respect.
No, when I say
rule
respect,
of law,
rule of
not
law,
fear.
Fear is part of it, because today
people should be afraid of their government.
Let me make a point here so that you don't get me wrong. Today, why we tend to respect and mostly comply with most of the things coming, particularly from countries like America, is not because we love and respect America, but because we fear the consequences of what America would do to us when we don't comply with such things. And that is why every now and then you hear China say they will do a counter, a policy to repeal what America is doing. Canada will say so because they know that if they do this, America has some level of degree of powers to punish them economically or otherwise. It is that fear in everybody that makes people comply with America, and is not love or respect. So even in Nigeria, government has to be feared. Because we don't have fear of government, that is why you see civil servants will go about stealing public funds to go and build malls. And that is why we have cases of accountant generals having 96 billion naira fraud, or having, malls and estates in Nigeria, or CBN governor having businesses almost in hundreds of billions of naira, because we are not afraid of government. We see nothing wrong with stealing public property and personalizing it. And the highest thing we do is prepare for judicial cases. But if you know that if you steal this phone, the government will come after you, the impact will get to your children, the impact will get to your generation, believe you me, we will all stay clear of public property and do our job the way we are supposed to do it. But there's no fear of government. So for me, let the government do their job and also be seen to be doing it within the law and not personalize it for some individuals, which I have not seen at the moment.
Right. One of the points raised there by Sowore in that report regarding the protest is that, listen, there is this growing disconnect. I mean, obviously, Mr. Sowore has his own political agenda attached to some of his activities, but of course, he has the track record regarding these type of civic movements and activities. He was talking about how the president is in France right now, while Nigerians are still languishing amidst all the harsh economic realities that the Tinubu administration is almost 100% certainly responsible for. He's also using his, platform as convener of some of these protests to call on the security forces. Do you have any concerns there when he's trying to say the police should also join the protesters because they are fighting for the Nigerian police, for instance?
No, I don't think he's doing it the right way. Yes, because when you say take it back, have you really educated the Nigerians who you want to understand what they are going to take back? Have you make an impact to an average Nigerian who you want to understand about government and governance and the shortfall you are experiencing with respect to this government? How far have you gone with educating Nigerians on what exactly you want to do? What are we going to take back? Because I tell you, look at it. How many people have you seen behind Sowore that today you will say, okay, these are notable Nigerians, these are key industry players, these are political pillars in Nigeria that have joined forces with Sowore in his own movement of take it back. And take it back, what are we going to take back? Are we going to take back what is rightfully belonging to us, which is our power as electorates on knowing who to vote and who to vote and when? Have you really educated? I am really concerned about us, the younger generation, educating each other on our right as a people with respect to what our leaders will offer us whenever we put them in a position of power. That is my concern. But if you just want to sit down on your own and come up with an idea that 90% of the people you want to follow you don't even understand, because look at the people that are standing behind Sowore, who apart from him, that he is the I don't know, is it promoter or the owner of Sahara Reporters, and he was one time a president of the student union government, or was it national? Yeah. Now, apart from him with these credentials, who have you seen behind him? Look at it. Who have you seen behind him that you can say have accepted and understood what Sowore is doing?
Does that invalidate the quality or the impact of the protests?
It does, because it looks as if it's just a Sowore thing. Because if I'm telling you now, if I want to protest in Mayo Belwa, which is my local government, I should be able to bring people that whoever you are as a politician, when you see these people with me, we mean business. And to tell you, this is the reason why these people that so-called themselves political opponents are trying to form coalition, because they want to come together under an umbrella to make a point, because they know at individual level, each one of them will stand and will not take any point. But when they come together and you see the caliber of these people, you say, okay, we are expecting a fight. But tell me, I have not seen anybody. I'm not discrediting the point of take it back, but I just want to understand, what are we going to take back and why? Yes, I know we are talking about government, and we have been talking about things that are biting on Nigerians as a result of economic policies, security issues, and these are things that were dished out by the government. I personally, as an APC member, and a chieftain, have condemned some of the policies. Yes, not in totality, because I didn't like the way they were dished out to Nigerians in full, But again, after some times, I am beginning to align myself gradually with some of these policies because I have seen some of it work. Example is the fuel thing, which after making the Naira crude policy, after giving the crude to local refineries, doing all these things, we've started seeing the impact. I always say this to Nigerians, where the money is coming down, even though of recent we are beginning to see some backtrack, where the government is saying, I don't know if it is from the government because I saw NNPC denying it, that okay, it has been suspended, okay, there is no more crude for the Dangote refinery.
I mean, the prices are going back up, so
yes,
it suggests that the whole program is in limbo.
I'm sure the government will do something, you know, to realign itself with these policies because it's really helping Nigerians, and in due time, it will really bring it down and make it completely affordable for every Nigerian. So I really want, if Sowore or any other Nigerian wants to organize a movement, he should do so bringing notable people that will seek to communicate and send a good signal to other Nigerians.
Right.
But doing it alone and making it look as if it's a Sowore thing does not make any impact because I have not seen anybody.
He's the most notable political figure in that protest, but I'm sure the others who were taking part in it were not necessarily trying to make it a Sowore thing. But as an APC stalwart yourself, how do you think the administration has been handling this public perception that, you know, it is one administration which in the first year has seen the most protests we've ever seen under the current democratic dispensation? Over the past 1 year, we've seen the NLC protest, the organized labor entirely protest over minimum wage, over increased tariffs, right? Over political developments, over the attack on the NLC president, for instance, in Imo. We've seen the August protest from last year. We've seen how that has, you know, pushed the country to the brink, where arrest of teenagers has been normalized and so on and so forth. These events have become rather normalized under the Tinubu administration in less than 2 years. How worried are you as an APC member, and what do you want the administration to do in reaction to this growing public discontent?
Yeah, I would tell you, I don't expect these policies to be welcomed by all Nigerians because, of course, it has changed a lot of things. And changing it, putting very much burden on Nigerians because we were not expecting it to happen the way it happened. And if you see, perhaps the reason so many presidents, you know, had their 8 years and could not remove subsidy. Perhaps the reason so many presidents came and from 1999 left office after 8 years and could not talk about policies like, you know, exactly what we are dealing with today, like the Naira crude thing. So I really want the government to have listening ears and then look at cushioning effects, you know, to really address some of these pressing, I will call it pressing issues that seeks to disturb Nigerians as a result of the policy. Because if you look at the removal of the fuel subsidy, that has really beaten every Nigerian. The government tried its best. Yes, NLC or whatever protest we have seen in the past, we're not expecting, you know, these things to have just happened the way it happened. Immediately the president came, he said the fuel subsidy is gone. He said dollar should find its value in the market. You know, all these things happened, and simultaneously it became a nightmare for Nigerians. I accept it. But again, the government is doing its best. And that is what we are talking about, the Naira crude policy that is really addressing the matter. But again, another thing I will agree with all sincerity is that there are some side policies that the government should put in place to really help, you know, address the effect of these policies that they implemented in the beginning. Now, for example, I personally was not in agreement with giving much money to the state governors, even though it's statutory, when they are not giving attention to some things that will address pressing matters to their citizens. Because when you say you have removed subsidy and you are giving 3 times money, you know, allocation to state government, and then he is not really helping the federal government, you know, to help put food on the tables of Nigerians because of affordability. Now things are hard. Instead, he is languishing with,
a recent report has shown that some 20 governors are under fire for delaying the 70,000 naira minimum wage, especially for local government employees and teachers, for instance. And that in itself has multiplied the impact of some of these reforms on the lives and livelihood of millions of Nigerians. Are you disappointed that some of these states like Yobe, for instance, like Gombe, for instance, and a host of others, even including the FCT, for instance, are run by APC leadership?
No, I'm not. I really want Nigerians to sometimes look at individual as against the party. Because yes, they are run by APC leaders, but again, it doesn't change the impact of what it is making on their citizens. If we have a governor, let's say in the Yobe state, who is Mai Malabuni, and has refused to pay the minimum, which is 70,000, then his state, the citizens, the indigenes of Yobe state should hold Mai Malabuni to account. What have you been doing with our money? This is my concern, as against pushing every blame to the center, because the federal government has made adequate provision for these things. Most states have accepted it. You are receiving your monthly allocation from the federal government, and the president has come out openly and said it. Until date, no governor denied what he said. I am giving you people 3 times what you used to receive previously in the last administration, because we have removed subsidy. So if somebody was collecting 4 billion naira and now he is collecting 12 billion, what stops him from paying 70,000 naira minimum wage? His state citizens, indigents, should ask him about their money and take their eyes off the federal government, because this is a state matter. There are lawyers in the state, there are other political parties who are opponents to him in that state. They should take him to court and seek the federal government to intervene, so that they will see he comply with these directives of the federal government on the payment of the minimum wage. So this is what I would say about this, because I look at it as an individual thing, not a party thing. Yes, to an extent, if the APC, our party, realize that there are state governors in the APC that are not really complying with the directives of the federal government, or to support the initiative of the president in making life easy for Nigerians, to pay minimum wage of just 70,000 naira, which is even not doing much as it's supposed to be because of the value of the naira, then the APC should also be seen, to be putting pressure on those state governors, because it also has something to do with internal
either adds value or devalues the party's image, right?
Yes, so the APC, our party has the right, to ask those governors why they have not implemented their 70,000 naira minimum wage, because it will have an impact on the party and consequently affect the party on a general note. So really, I really want to see that our party do something about it and ensure that minimum wage 70,000 naira, even though it has no value, I will continue to say this, because it will not buy you, yes, for now, the value of food items in the market is coming down. The 70,000 naira can buy you one bag of rice and you still have change. Unlike 3 months ago, that you will even have to add 20,000 naira before you get a bag of rice. Now you can get it at 60,000. And we hope that with some policies on agriculture, it will really come down. Hopefully before again rainy season or December, we should be seeing rice at 40 or 35,000, which will be a nice thing to see in this government, because it means we are keeping our promises to Nigerians. Okay. But I'm not happy to hear that some state governors have not complied with the 70,000, and I hope my party will do something about it, because they are not really respecting what has been agreed unanimously by the federal government and the state government on the minimum wage issue.
Just in the interest of full disclosure, you also have states like Zamfara, for instance, PDP states like Abia, also Labour Party state, that have not implemented that, alongside many others. But mostly you have APC-run governments across some of the northern and southern part of the country. Let's talk about the all too familiar conversation around lopsidedness when it comes to political appointments. We've seen it in the Buhari administration. Allegations of clannishness. Most of the people in the government are from the north. We're seeing something that looks like a repeat by the Tinubu administration, especially over the past couple of weeks. Some of the most notable appointments or replacements of people that have left the government have come from what many would say one particular region of the country. This has become something that has been popular under the APC administration. The Buhari administration had to deal with that for 8 years, and now the Tinubu administration, some would say, is continuing in a similar fashion. Are you worried as an APC man that these are some of the things that you have to deal with in talking about inclusivity and political representation in the Tinubu administration?
Yeah, I'm not happy. Yes, we always have to make reference. History is there for people to always reference with. And that is why setting a bad precedence is one of the most dangerous things to do, because people will always make reference to those things and really take a decision. Now, yes, the Buhari administration was accused or was seen to have done much of these lopsided appointments. And if anybody today will look at it and say, why is Yorubas taking appointment in the Tinubu administration, the usual answer you get is, we did not start it. And I differ. I told you the last time, not the last time, in one of the occasions I was here, about I am tired of looking out on who is there or where he comes from. I really want to be looking at the results. And this is the only material thing that now I'm after as a Nigerian. And if I will see a good result, I tell you something. I was discussing with someone yesterday about NIMSI, and the person says, I feel disappointed that when the lady took over, it was the entire impression was she's a Yoruba woman, she is this, she is young, but she is arrogant to elderly people. She is posting people from one state to the other, not prepared to do so. But today, some people are withdrawing back their earlier statement on the woman, that she is doing very well. Staff welfare, repositioning the institution, actualizing the full potential of the NIMSI, aligning with relevant institutions to optimize the mandate of the NIMSI. Now, if Tinubu, our president today, is appointing those people from his region, even if they are from Lagos State alone, what I'll be looking at, yes, there are other good Nigerians from every region that should be seen and be given a chance to serve this country. But we are now practicing the politics of, it is our time, it is my turn. And this is what is happening in this country. Until we are able to address it, I stay clear of this issue of who is there. I want to be looking at the results.
You don't think it defeats the idea of federalism?
It defeats the idea of federalism, but what are you going to do? That is why we really have to reposition this country and bring about people that will come with the idea of nation building as against my people. But at the moment, and there is no way I just discuss it, restricting it to the Tinubu administration. There is no way. I will not be fair to this administration if I say we'll discuss them in isolation with what is happening. Yes, we said it. The Buhari administration started it. But of course, even the Buhari administration did not start it in Nigeria. Other governments have done same. Maybe people begin to realize more of it maybe in the Buhari administration, and now seeing a different version of it with this administration.
But it's fair to say that APC created this phenomenon, isn't it? I mean, nobody was talking about lopsidedness under Goodluck administration. Definitely nobody was talking about it during Edward's administration. And of course, Obasanjo's administration is famous for being government of national unity. There was everyone everywhere.
No, Talba, I differ from this, because the Goodluck administration was defined as the administration of the Southeasterners.
Really?
Because I will try and get the figures for you. 70 to 75% of Goodluck Jonathan's appointment was the Southeasterners. And that is why the Southeasterners aligned themselves so much with the Goodluck administration. Now, if you want to be looking at this, every region gets to enjoy a particular presidency. And the Buhari administration, the Northeasterners, in a way, enjoyed even more than the Northwesterners where he come from. Because
how so?
Based because a lot of appointments in the Buhari administration where it was in the Northeast.
A lot?
A lot, yes. Chief of Staff, Chief of Army Staff, just name it. NMPC, GMD, a lot, Mr. Talba, a lot. And those are key positions in the country that you look at. But, like I said, for me, I am tired because we really have to shift from this. We have to be looking at Nigerians. If we truly believe in this country, I want us to stay away from where does it come from. Because we have people today that represent United States as big as it is, that normally if you want to go by zoning or by majority of votes, they would never rule the United States. But because it is the content of what they have that give them the opportunity to take power and represent their people. That is why so we also have to learn this and bring it to bear in Nigeria. Otherwise, we'll continue to do the politics of it is my turn, it is our turn, and it's not really helping democracy, neither will it help governance. But I just hope that the people the president is bringing on board will continue to be like the DG of the NIMC, because I have not seen it, but I have heard it from a staff of the organization that she is doing very well, wonderfully. And if that is the case, I hope every other appointee of the president should do same, so that at the end, cumulatively, when you put them, you would define that the administration have done so much well, and we will have the power and face our people and say we have done well, so give us another chance.
Okay. Talking about another chance, 2027 is just around the corner, and politicians have been drumming the songs of battle for the exalted seat of the president, right? And the North Central Renaissance Movement has spoken recently over the weekend, saying that, listen, they're trying to negotiate something for the region going into 2027. They're in fact talking about a North Central presidency, but however, they are apparently willing to settle for a vice presidential running mate for the president in 2027. So they are calling for a replacement for Vice President Kashim Shettima. As an APC man, does this come to you as a surprise?
No, I'm not. Because the same North Central went against the appointment of our national chairman, Ganduje, because based on the APC constitution, when Abdullahi Adamu vacated the seat, the replacement should have come from that region. Now, if they are saying they want a position of the VP come 2027, they, in their own right as people from the North Central, and they feel they also need the position of the vice president in the APC, they have the right to ask. But what is the question here is, can they be given? Can they be given? Because if you look at, even the Northwesterners are asking for the same thing. Because politics is a game of number. Yes, it was not played in the last election. It's not because of the numbers that the president chose Kashim Shettima. It was out of recommendations that he chose him. Initially, there was somebody who stood temporarily for him, who was Ibrahim Masari. And then after everything, Kashim took over as the VP. Now, I am indifferent, Talba, about all these things, so long as we allow governance to continue to take place. Because I tell you something, now, when we want to be looking at this issue of vice presidency, presidency, there is an unwritten law with all the parties. And that is what you get to be hearing, and that is what the likes of people like Wike says. He is not against Atiku Abubakar. He was against the notion that the presidency should remain in the North. Meaning, whoever that was given the ticket in the South, not in the APC, not President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, him, Wike, would have supported that person. And today, we have a Southern president.
Or a president from the South.
A president from the South, sorry, a president from the South. Now, we have only, he will finish his 2 years, his 4 years by 2027, and certainly he will ask for a second leg. Now, this is where the mathematics comes from. If the Northern Nigeria wants to fight for presidency in 2027, are we going to do so in violation of the agreement between us that is a gentleman agreement, the power should be rotating 8 years between the two regions, north and south? And if yes, we want to fight this, where will that keep the north? And if we are going to be honorable to allow the Southerners complete their 8 years, who is our best choice in realizing a northern candidate come 2031? Is it a new Southerner to take over the position who will run for 4 years and ask for another 8 years? Or the one on seat who has finished his 4 years and will need a second term, which is his last 4 years? And I tell you, we have only two people in the South that have this position: the president on seat and the former president, Goodluck Jonathan. He can come back and ask for this seat if he so wish, if the law permits. And
certainly the law permits. He was in the battle in 2015.
Our president will also ask for his second term, which is very obvious, and we are willing to give him a second chance. Now, if that is the case, we only have two choices in the north: either to support the Bola Tinubu administration to complete its 8 years so that we can now have our uninterrupted 8 years as in the north, or if the table turns, which I don't want because I'm an APC person, I would love to see my party consolidate.
Yeah, but your party also caught a lot of flag in 2023 when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then candidate, chose a Muslim from the north to be his running mate, going against the tradition of not just across regional lines but across religious lines, because we know that Nigeria is heavily dominated by a Christian and Muslim faith, right? Which is quite an anomaly. Since 1999, we've always had a president who is either Christian and the vice president Muslim, vice versa. That's what we've been having until 2023. Some would say the right thing to do is to correct this anomaly so that those heightened tensions will not be inflamed in 2027. Do you think that is part of the reason why the North Central Renaissance movement is pushing for a replacement for Vice President Kashim Shettima? And does that make sense?
It may or may not. And the issue of religion, I tell you, an average Christian today in Nigeria who have seen the development taking place in whatever angle you want to look at it from, would tell you, in fact, the people that cry the most in seeing the benefit of this administration are even the Muslims. I will tell you this, because in most cases, you hear the Northerners say, people who did the Muslim ticket will tell you, we did it, but we didn't see anything. So an average Christian who was not having a good understanding of the political calculation the president made as against the obvious thing that he is a Muslim and he is speaking a Muslim, has really changed his position. Okay, it's not really about the religion. It was just about the numbers. It was just about convincing people. It's not about the religion, because how has it changed? How has it changed the religious setting in Nigeria?
Yeah, but in all fairness, right? It's easier to say that if you're a Muslim. It's not easier to say that if you're a Christian, right? And we do know that Nigerians feel a certain type of sentimental attachment to that type of political representation. And we're also talking about this against the backdrop of inclusivity and equity, right? Isn't that the fair thing to do, the right thing to do, to create this balance that mirrors our society? Isn't that the right thing to do?
It is, because at this point, and I still take you back, it is, because at this point we still practice the politics of me, my people, and my people could be my tribe, my religion, and it's not helping. And that is why I'm telling you, people who thought the Bola Tinubu candidacy with Kashim Shettima as his VP was a Muslim agenda thing have now seen the reality that it's not. It's just about the political calculation. It has nothing to do with religion. Out of 100%, I tell you today, 90 go on a public opinion sampling. 90% will tell you it was not about religion. But yes, in the beginning, that was the message. That is what, on everywhere you go on the street, you hear it, okay, is it an attempt to Islamize the country? There is no way you Islamize Nigeria. There is no way. And the man keeps saying it. How can I, when I have not Islamized my wife, who is a pastor, not just an ordinary Christian? we have been together for decades, almost for more than 40 years. I could not convert her to becoming a Muslim. How then do I change the entire Nigerian population to becoming Muslims? Now, and this is because our understanding of religion and the way our religious leaders communicate is not really helping matters. And that is why the issue of merit, competency, should take over most of the foundations we have laid that is questionable about religion, culture, tradition, is because it's not really helping. Yes, when you talk about representation politically, these are things to just manage or massage people's ego, Mr. Talba. It's not really a realistic thing. But the reality here is bringing somebody who will come and bring about development that has nothing to do with your tribe.
You're saying it's impossible for us to have an egalitarian society?
No, I'm not saying this. I'm not saying we don't. What do you mean by egalitarian society?
I mean one that is built on fairness, equity, justice, and all of these tenets.
And must that have to do anything with religion?
I mean, you're just talking about the gentleman agreement of power rotating from north to south. I mean, if I have to make the same argument, like most people would say, one can make the same argument that we don't have to worry about rotation. We just have to worry about good governance.
And I'm just telling you what is happening. I'm not telling you that I'm in alignment with the power rotation of the north and south thing. I'm not. But it's what is happening. And for peace to continue to reign until we have a redefinition of our political, structure or equation. But we cannot really continue on this track. But at the moment, this is the reality.
Right. Okay.
Not that I am in alignment with it. I don't like it, but I'm just telling you this. And for us to respect what is happening now, before we get the change we so much want, then we have to allow our southern friends to complete their 8 years.
Okay. I mean, you have a right to your opinion about this one. I'm sure there are a lot of people watching the program right now who would disagree. But talk to me about what's happening on the home front. Just before we go, we have a minute to spare. We're witnessing what may possibly be a fallout between former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and Adamawa State Governor Ahmed Fintri, who is on the platform of the PDP. What do you make of some of the pronouncements the Waziri made recently, talking about working with people who are obviously political opponents of the governor that he helped bring into power in 2019 and in 2023, the likes of Aishat Lairubinani, the likes of Senator Elisha Abo, the likes of Senator Abdulaziz Nyako, for instance, that he's trying to work with, announcing this new coalition ahead of 2027. What do you make of, the developments in Adamawa State?
My state has a complex political equation, very complex. But again, out of all this complexity, Mr. Talba, I tell you, it has really opened the way that if you do your homework well, if you communicate to the people of Adamawa State well, if you really demonstrate that you understand the problem and really have a plan that will bring about the solution to all these problems, then you have your chance to walk through to the government house. But to answer your question, yes, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar had his relationship, in bringing his influence to bear in bringing the current governor of Adamawa State, like you said, yes, in 2019 and even in 2020. We all know this. But yes, they fell out. It's really bitter now between them. But again, it's politics. We all see what is happening between Fintri and the likes of Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State or Wike, and these are his friends politically as against, and when you say, the enemy of my enemy. If these are not people that really dine with the vice president, and instead of him to be a loyal godson to his godfather who helped him.
Is he actually his godfather?
Because he helped him. He helped him politically. Yeah, I don't think
political ally is
okay. I wouldn't want to call him a political ally because he helped him completely. And usually, when you influence this kind of decision on someone's life, you should have some level of, regard with the person. And if Fintri has chosen not to regard him as such, it is between them to resolve it.
Right.
And this alignment you are talking about between the Vice President, Ishaku Abo, Senator Abdulaziz Nyako, Binani, yes, these are all people that, really had bitterness too with their party. For example, Aisha Binani with our party, the APC, the same thing with Abdulaziz Nyako, the same thing with Senator Ishaku Abo. But at the same time, that's why it is called a party.
Right.
It's out of your free will. So as they are going, some people are coming into the party, and we will continue to do our work, right, and hope that in 2027 we'll take over Adamawa State. Interesting conversation, Engineer Nurudeen Hammanyero. Thank you very much for joining me tonight, and we do appreciate the expertise. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for your time this evening. All right, and as always, we do appreciate you for taking the time. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate the company. Daily Politics returns tomorrow, live, exclusive as always on Trust TV at 8 p.m. We look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, my name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for watching.